So there are a ton of events going on in the month of March in Pokemon Go. So much so that it's pretty difficult to keep track of. I mean, we have Thundurus as the raid boss, we have Alakazam as a Community Day Pokemon, and then we have all of these special raid weekends. We have like a Darkrai Raid Weekend, a Cobalion Raid Weekend, we got a Lugia Raid Weekend, a Giratina Altered Form Raid Weekend. We already had one of those, and now we're getting another one. Where's the Origin Form Raid Weekend? I don't know. I hope it's not happening this month because this month is already pretty jam-packed. But yeah, and then beyond that, they have like a Psychic Spectacular event. They have a Team Rocket takeover, and then yeah, Entei is the new Team Rocket Pokemon. It's a list. Well, in this video, I'm going to highlight which Pokemon events are going to be the most important to pay attention to in regards to the raid and PvP meta. We have a lot to cover, so let's get into it. Starting March 2nd, we have Thundurus incarnate form as our raid boss for the month of March in Pokemon Go. It might not feel that way with all the different raid weekends going on, but in between all that, Thundurus is going to be sticking around. Now, as far as Thundurus goes, Thundurus isn't very meta relevant. It lives in the shadow of its Therian form, much like all the other incarnate genie form Pokemon that we've been getting. So all in all, Thundurus is just going to be like a trophy type Pokemon, nothing to get too excited about. Now, as far as farming candy up for the Therian form goes, the Therian form also isn't all that exciting. It's got good stats, but in the current Game Master right now, it doesn't have a good electric type moveset. So right now, Thundurus Therian form, not looking so hot. 2 trophy Pokemon. 1 now, 1 in the future. Then on March 6th through March 9th, we have our first raid weekend, which is Darkrai. And this time, Darkrai can be shiny. Hopefully this Darkrai will be a tier 5 Darkrai and not a tier 6 stat Darkrai, but I think we're going to get the tier 6 one again. So make sure to bring all your friends with you and get those Machamps ready to take on the Darkrai, or you're going to have a miserable time. As miserable of a time as you had last time raiding Darkrai. Now, as far as the meta is concerned, Darkrai is still one of the best Dark-type attackers in the game and is a phenomenal Dark-type attacker for Master League PvP. However, I'd say as far as like a budget goes, Stardust-wise, Giratina Origin Form is kind of the better investment. However, if you do love Darkrai, Darkrai is a optimized Pokemon for both raids and PvP. And if you do want to use Darkrai for PvP, make sure you get that 15 attack IV. The reason why is because Darkrai, in general, up against Groudon, with the bait, can't KO Groudon. It's got 1 HP left after you land the Focus Blast. However, if Darkrai has a 15 attack IV, and you best buddy it, so it's at effectively level 41, as you can tell, that is now a KOing Focus Blast. So it is a small minor detail, a small minor gain for the Darkrai's of the world, but if you are a Darkrai enthusiast, you want to get stepping for that Master League. And then of course you're going to want a 15 attack IV anyways for raid attacks, so it all comes together, right? Our next weekend is on March 13th. Through the 16th, we have Giratina Altered Form, and just like the last time we had a raid event with Giratina, it can be shiny. Now, if you're into the Go Battle League and you had a miserable time in the Ultra League, like you couldn't get a team that just worked and everything was so expensive, well then you're going to want to get excited for Giratina Altered Form, because Giratina Altered Form is the name of the game in the Ultra League. Now, of course, if you already have a Giratina Altered Form figured out for the Ultra League, or you're not sold on it, or you don't care about PvP, this event is also a good opportunity to get Giratina candy for your Giratina Origin Form. They share the same candy pool. And Giratina Origin Form is like the master of the Master League, and it is the best ghost type attacker for raids. So definitely good candy to get, and of course you can get the shiny here for the Altered Form, not the Origin Form. By the way, swag tip on Giratina Altered Form here, a raid caught IV spread on Giratina could be ideal for the Ultra League in PvP. As long as you have a 136.7 or higher attack stat, you can get some nice breakpoints on some common Ultra League Pokemon, such as a Nasty Frog we all may be familiar with. So how do you check your IVs? Well, just go on PvPoke and plug in your IV spread, see what your attack stat ends up at. Higher IV spreads in this one can work out at level 26, so don't get too concerned about that. Another added perk about Giratina with a high attack stat too is that you can get charge move priority in the mirror matchup. If your Giratina is up against another Giratina, I think you're going to want to be the one throwing their charge moves first. By the way, if PvP IVs sounds kind of confusing to you, like what is Ryan Swag talking about, well, link up above in the description for a basic breakdown of PvP IVs, help you understand what's going on. Now on that same exact weekend, March 15th, we have the Alakazam Community Day. It's been data mined that there are community events specific to the Alakazam family on March 15th, so very likely Alakazam Community Day. We don't know what attack Alakazam's going to get right now, but it is likely it's going to get the attack Kinesis, as that is Alakazam's signature move. So that's what we're anticipating right now. There's no data mine on Kinesis. We don't know if it's a fast move or a charge move, but I did decide to sim out some charge moves to get an idea of what it could be if it were to get a really good charge attack. So using the DPS TDO spreadsheet on GamePress, I added an Alakazam with Side Strike, and then I gave it a Kinesis that mirrors Aura Sphere's stats. So Lucario's busted charge move, that's now Psychic and on Alakazam. And then I also simmed out Kinesis as Flying Press, which is a move that we have stats on, but it's not added to any Pokemon right now in the game. Well, Mewtwo with Side Strike itself ends up being roughly as good as Psychic Mewtwo. If it were to be as good as Aura Sphere, it would be a step behind but nearly as good as Side Strike Mewtwo. And then the pie in the sky, the very unlikely thing to happen, if Kinesis were to become Flying Press in terms of stats, it would actually soar above Mewtwo with Side Strike, which is pretty insane. I don't know if Kinesis is going to be a charge move just yet, but if it is, it does look like it could be pretty favorable for Alakazam. Probably won't beat out Mewtwo, but it will be much more of a contender than it was previously. Now as far as the new Alakazam in PvP goes, PvPoke doesn't let me make my own moves and play around with them, so I can't tell you specifically, but I can make comparisons. And if you look at Alakazam's stat spread and Haunter's stat spread, they're very similar. So Haunter is one of the best PvP Pokemon in the Great League because of its phenomenal movesets, despite its Glass Cannon stats. If Alakazam were to get a move to make it more like Haunter in terms of performance, well then Alakazam could sneak in and become a bit more meta relevant. Now while we are all hoping on the special move being a charge move, a fast move could potentially be a bigger deal for Alakazam. As you can see, we have Psycho Cut and Confusion, so a heavy damage attack that gains very little energy, and then a low damage attack that gains rapid energy. Haunter's Shadow Claw, on the other hand, is a balance between those two ideas. So if Alakazam were to get Kinesis, and Kinesis were to be a fast move, sort of like Shadow Claw, maybe a little bit better, well then Alakazam could easily become meta relevant in Great League PvP. So until we get some stats, we're going to have to wait to see what happens, but you better bet that once we get those stats, I'm going to let you guys know what's going on with Alakazam. Then the weekend following, March 20th through the 23rd, we have Cobalion's special raid weekend. The special raid weekend nobody asked for. This time, you can get Shiny Cobalion, and it will have its special signature move, Sacred Sword. Now, we don't have any stats on Sacred Sword, but I can tell you that if Sacred Sword is a charge move, nothing's going to change for Cobalion. Sacred Sword has to be a fast move in order to make Cobalion meta relevant in any way, shape, or form. And that goes for all of the Musketeer Pokemon. All of them need a better fast move. So if Sacred Sword is a fast move, that's going to be awesome for them. If it's not a fast move, then they're going to just stay as relatively lame ducks. Now to add to that, these Pokemon will never be exciting for raid content. No matter how crazy Sacred Sword is as a charge move or a fast move, these Pokemon are not raiders. However, in PvP, they're pretty decent. They've got good stat lines, they have good charge moves, but those fast moves, the fast moves aren't good. So if Sacred Sword comes out and it ends up being a really good fast move, I could see the Musketeer Pokemon rising up in value for Ultra League and Master League PvP. But if it's a charge move, then by the way, Niantic's been kind of skimpy with that data lately. Normally we get the stats like weeks ahead of time. Now they're like holding out. It's like they know that we know to know. It's kind of frustrating. Also, on that weekend, we have a special research event, a mysterious research event. The first one since Regigigas. And given the data mines on it, it looks like it's going to be Genesect. Genesect is a mythic Pokemon. It is Bug and Steel type. Now, as far as Pokemon currently in the game goes, Genesect would be the best Bug type attacker in the game, having Fury Cutter and X-Scissor. But eventually, Volcarona will be added to the game and will beat out Genesect by a lot. So I'm not too sold on Genesect. You might not want to get too crazy about it and power it up. However, for the PvPers out there, because this is a research event, this may be your only opportunity to get a Genesect under 1500 CP. I can't say for certain if Genesect is like the ace in the whole Great League Pokemon, but if it ever does have a niche where it is pretty useful, this may be our only opportunity to get Genesect in that role. So if you're a PvP Lord, you want to get hyped up for this one. But for everybody else, I guess if you want Genesect early, whatever. Then, on the weekend of March 27th to the 30th, we have a special Lugia Raid Weekend. I know we've been pretty sick of these Lugia Raid Weekends in the past. I think Lugia has been the most rated Pokemon out of any other Pokemon in the game. However, this time, it will have its exclusive special attack, Aeroblast. Now, once again, we don't have a data mine on Aeroblast. We don't know what the stats are. However, for PvP, if Aeroblast is 5 energy less than Sky Attack, Lugia will become meta relevant once again in the Master League, or at the very least even more so than it is now. To help you understand a little bit more, we have my Master League simplified graphic here. Now if this does look like a convoluted mess to you, you can check out my Master League 101 video. It takes you through this graphic step by step to help you better understand the Master League. But assuming you've already seen it or that you can kind of grasp this on the fly, let's get into it. If Aeroblast were to be 5 less energy than Sky Attack, then Lugia would actually make it as an anti-meta counter to the big 5. So who is Lugia laying into? Well, Kyogre and Togekiss. Right now, Lugia has the opportunity to beat either of them, but only in specific shield situations. If Lugia were to have that 5 lower energy cost charge move, then it would be able to beat them in just about all shield situations, which is pretty cool for Lugia. Now you might be thinking, Ryan, Swag, Magnezone and Raikou already do that and they can also beat Lugia. Well, Lugia has more consistent matchups beyond just these two Pokemon. It's pretty good against the alternative Dragon-type Pokemon, and the whole dang Fight Club kneels to Lugia, which is something that these fringe Electric-type Pokemon can't boast. And if you think about it, if these guys, who are pretty fringe in the meta right now, like they don't have a whole lot of targets, are good against a new Pokemon that might be big in the meta, well that gives them a whole nother target, which I think makes the whole meta a nice, comfy, huggy, happy place. More Pokemon being relevant is always a good thing. And for those of you that want to know about raids, Lugia has always been a really good raid attacker. It's the Flying Fortress. It was the OG Machamp Destroyer, and it's still a really good tanky raid attacker in that same right. Aeroblast being anything better than Sky Attack will make Lugia that much better. That said, Lugia as a raid attacker, bulky raid attackers, they're kind of out of favor these days. So if you already have a Lugia maxed out, I don't think it'd be worth it for you to max out a new one specifically for raids. And then on top of that, even if you don't have a Lugia maxed out already, it's a little questionable these days to max it out for raids. No matter how good Aeroblast is, I don't think it'll make Lugia a top raid attacker. It'll basically always be that cool bulky guy that works out every now and then. Now beyond that, the Rocket Takeover event, Shadow Entei, and then the Psychic Spectacular event, I don't think that those events are that big on the meta. Like there's some new shiny Pokemon, but like they're going to be around after this anyways. It's not a new raid boss with some crazy attack, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not too hyped about them. You might be though. By the way, if you want a good reference for these events, like what they are, when they are, etc., well, link in the description to the Game Press page covering each and every one of these events that's happening in the month of March. There's a lot of events to pay attention to. I hope this content has helped you understand which raid bosses are the ones you need to focus on for PvP and for raids. And as far as the moves that we don't have all the information on right now, I hope it helped you understand what needs to have happen to make these Pokemon good. So if time rolls on, we find out that Sacred Sword is a charge move, okay, Cobalion, I think I might take a big nap that weekend. If time rolls on, we find out that Aeroblast has a 5 lower energy cost than Sky Attack, then maybe we want to go crazy that weekend. Know what I'm saying? And you can bet that as we get that information, I'll be making more content to help you understand what's good, if it's good, and how it's good. So if you want to see that content, well, make sure to subscribe. And if you have any questions on this content, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. I did all of that with just this screen here. I didn't share screen, that whole thing.